For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie English. I'm the Community Services Liaison with LA County Fire Department. And all that means is that I'm here with you as a community and the stakeholders in our division, which is partly Santa Clarita. We have a very large division that we call Division 3, and it goes from Altadena to Agua Dulce. How many fire stations do you think we have in Santa Clarita? 6, 7, 39. Woo! Wow. 15. We have 15 fire stations in Santa Clarita. Most people don't know that. I usually get the 6 or 7. I've never gotten 39, but that would be really awesome, maybe someday, as we build out. But we have 15 fire stations in Santa Clarita. Our division goes from Altadena to Agua Dulce, so our Division 3 has all of wildland urban interface territory. And our assistant chief is Gregory Heisel, absolutely fantastic chief who worked here as a captain, worked here as a paramedic, was on our hazmat team, was the chief of Homeland Security for a time, is very well versed in wildland fires, so you might see him out and about and say hello. He's really a lovely gentleman and very intelligent and very hardworking and represents our community very well. So one of my roles for my job is to be at an incident when something like the Calgrove fire breaks out. On a daily basis, I just deal with issues that come up. I do public education and writing and public relations and things like that. But at an incident, I will be at the command post with Incident Command and communicating with our stakeholders in the city and the supervisor's office and communities like yours to get the information out. I was trying to get information out on KHTS, so that's always a good place to listen. But who was stuck on the freeway during the Calgrove fire? Nobody in this room? Oh, you guys were so lucky. Okay, good for you. Anybody living near the Calgrove fire? Oh, I should have told you. That was it. There you go. I have so many things on there. You probably read an executive summary while you were finding that PowerPoint, huh? Anybody living in the area near Calgrove fire? No. Gosh, I'm going to hang out with you guys. Well, the day that the Calgrove fire hit, I was sitting in Chief Heisel's office about 10 minutes before the fire blew up, and I was saying, Chief, this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. The number of fires we are getting this year, which most people aren't aware of because they're not getting the attention like the Calgrove fire because they're not threatening a lot of residents or a lot of homes. I said, this is absolutely crazy. This is going to be an awful, awful year. It already has been an awful, awful year. And there goes the tones for brush fire at Calgrove. Of course, the minute it goes out, we don't know if it's going to be half acre and they smash it really, really quickly. But within, I would say, 10, 15 at the most minutes, an alarm. And then 5 minutes after that, it was in a third alarm assignment. And so they knew it was going to be really, really bad. That's just to tell you, 400 acre plus fire is not massive. This was a very dynamic fire because, of course, it was going into canyons and bowls and right up into the homes. And you'll see on some of these pictures, when you come across them, the fires that you see behind these homes were really this close to the homes. It was an absolutely... Do you need me? Oh, it doesn't automatically slide through? Okay, I press the button. I press which? The red button? Okay, I'm blind, so I'll just take your word for it. Okay. Oh, it goes so fast. Hang on. Let me go to the beginning. They're really not in any kind of order. Okay. So it gives you kind of a view of where that fire's headed into those homes. At the height of the fire, we had 7 helicopters. We had 5 fixed wings and 2 air tankers. It was a phenomenal firefight. Some people think that our aircraft are the major firefight, but it really is a collaborative effort with the crews on the ground, the engines on the ground, multi-agency response on the ground and in the air. Our super scoopers come in September 1st. I don't know if most of you are probably aware that we contract with 2 Quebec super scoopers to come in each year for 3 months, generally 3 months, and a sky crane with the dropping thing you see, the funny looking copter, each year. County pays well over $5 million to contract with those aircraft and those pilots for 3 months every year. So on top of our regular aircraft that LA County owns and our partnering aircraft, we'll have those super scoopers and the sky crane. And this was one of our copters dropping. More visuals. This was clearly, the freeway doesn't look very impacted at that point. I thought this was going to roll. Now I have to try to do two things at once. So really there is no fire season for us, but our biggest fires, our most vulnerable time here in Santa Clarita is in the fall. Because why? The winds. The winds. That fire that we had a couple weeks ago, Cowgrove fire, in a high wind situation would have been extremely difficult to contain and tame. After this fire, we had a damage assessment team go out and they do a very thorough analysis. And we had a garage that was damaged, and the contents and the loss in the garage was about $30,000, but the value of the homes that were saved was over $15 million. So it was a significant firefight. And when you can see how the fire's approaching these homes. I think this is into the Cowgrove, back into the Cowgrove area. So a couple of things. Information on a fire, and then I'll get into the Ready, Set, Go plan. Was anybody on social media during this fire, and did you see the picture of the house that was on fire? Ramsden, yeah, I didn't follow that one too closely. That was 16 acres, but we got that one pretty quick too. I'd have to go back and get the report on that. If they don't get too big, I don't pay too much attention. So some of the local social media sites were publishing a photo of a house on fire, and then my phone started ringing off the hook, and the city was calling, and lots of people were calling. Someone, I don't know if they did it maliciously, it's hard for me to believe they didn't, it had to start somewhere, posted a picture of a house that looked like kind of a Santa Clarita house. And so it got out and people were panicking that houses were burning. That takes a lot of course correction on our part to stop that fear-mongering, if you will. So I share that to encourage you to get your information from official sources, to check your information, and I'll tell you where those official sources are. Social media has blown up just out of control, quite frankly. Anybody can say anything, anybody can say so-and-so who's connected to so-and-so told me this is happening, and then it just rolls, it just goes. So one of the official sites where you can get your official information related to Santa Clarita is our Division III Los Angeles County Twitter account. I know some people don't like to Twitter. I'm not a huge, I Twitter out information so all of you can get it. So if you are on Twitter, it's at LA County, it's at LACOFD DIV, the number 3. LACOFD DIV, the number 3, which is LA County Fire Department Division 3, which again is what we are. So during an incident like this, you'll see information updates from the command post, from myself, about incidents like this. Our public affairs office, if you go into Twitter, LA County Fire Department official PIO office will also tweet. AirOps, official AirOps is a good source for information. We also have a Facebook page for those of you that enjoy Facebook, Los Angeles County Fire Department Division 3. You get a lot of just generally everyday good information. You can communicate with the division through the Facebook page. If you have a question, it doesn't post publicly. You can just leave a message there. So, please take the time to get the correct information and try not to jump the city, KHTS. When it's out in your area, I would communicate with Al, the kind of the heads of groups. They would be my point of contact to push information out. And many of you have my cell phone, so you can call me. That's obviously the aftermath of that. So getting to the Ready, Set, Go plan. I know many of you have seen this. Some of you probably haven't. Who has seen this guide before? The message is the same way that paramedics will triage patients. If you come on say a traffic collision where there's 6 serious injuries, they have to triage who they can save and who they can't save, or who maybe unfortunately has already passed. And it's the same thing with homes. When they come into your neighborhood and they're trying to do a firefight, I'm going to go fast and look for the photo I was speaking of. That photo. That was over near Wildwood Canyon, off Cross Street and Market. If you go Market to Cross, you're familiar with that area where Wildwood is. And that fire was as close to that home as it appears. But that home was not damaged even a little. Now, there was a lot of smoke in the house, and it was going to take a while to clear the smoke. But what do you suppose is the reason that they were able to defend that home? Defensible space. They had those firefighters were able to get into that defensible space and protect that home. Had that home been a different scenario, let's say, just as an example, trees, completely over the roof of the home, and the gutters and the eaves filled with leaves, and open vents, and maybe they've got a wood pile next to the side of their house, and maybe they've moved a couple old pieces of furniture that they mean to get picked up or take to Goodwill, but it's still sitting there. It's very difficult. So they will triage your home. So we really encourage you to do your brush clearance. So the Ready, Set, Go guide that I hope you have a copy of now, the ready part is your defensible space. That's the first 2 or 3 pages. Brush clearance, fuel modification, hardening your home, what we call hardening your home, which would be like putting vents over your eaves. If you remember the buckwheat fire, yeah, that was a bad one. The homes off of Nadal, right? That's the street right above the high school. You were there, yeah. There were, 8, 10 homes that were, some were destroyed, some were very severely affected from fire that was on the other side of town. And what happened was the embers, thank you, whoever said the embers traveled a couple miles and landed on the palms. And the palms, they give from the heat and the smoke, not from the ember, but from the fire in general, little pieces, and they land in a eave in your home or on the roof of your home, and they can sit there for a while, and it just heats and heats and heats, and that's how those houses burned. So hardening your home is critical to protecting your home. So that's the ready part. The set part is, what do you do with your family? What do you take with you? What's the preparation around inside your home? And the guide will lead you through all that. The go part, and that's always a very difficult thing, is when to evacuate, how to evacuate. We really do encourage you to evacuate when the Sheriff's Department asks. They're asking because the fire department has asked. When you clear your neighborhood, it makes it easier for the firefighters, one, to move around your neighborhood. It's a very messy operation. If you've ever seen our firefighters in a fire in your neighborhood, there's hoses and axes and engines parked this way and that way, and it's just complete chaos. And they're moving equipment every which way. So when you evacuate, it makes it easier for the firefighters to get in and out. One of our major challenges, and this happened in Wildwood, was one of our firefighters in a big water tender, it carries a couple thousand gallons of water, was going up the hill and then coming back down to get more water, and horse trailers were starting to come up. And he turned those people back around. So once those horse trailers start going up, our fire equipment can't get up there. So if you own horses or you live in one of these types of communities that you know somebody that has horses, the best thing to do is one of 2 things. Get your horses out very, very early, right when the fire happens, even if you don't feel threatened but it's in your area. Or if you have an open corral, leave your horse there. They really do well in open, cleared corrals. And thankfully, there's a ranch up there, Wildwood Equestrian Ranch. They had 50 horses up there. They have a beautiful large corral, and they thankfully didn't panic and left their horses up there. They managed to get a few horses out before we closed down that road. But where was I going with that before I digressed into horses? the go part, the evacuation part. It's not just for your safety, it's for our firefighters' safety. They don't have to worry about what neighbors left in their house and be watching that person in their house. On this particular street across from the house that you're looking at now, there was a gentleman that decided to stay. He stayed in his house. So then there's a little bit of a focus on, hey guys, there's somebody over here, he stayed, let's watch his house, let's watch out for him, and then the firefighting effort is kind of diverted to other things. So ready, set, go. You harden your house, you do your brush clearance, you prepare what to take, what safety mechanisms you have in your home, and then when you're asked to evacuate, we really appreciate it when you do evacuate. We are always very reticent of the fact that the evacuations are so inconvenient. And one of the things that I often do at the command post is I'll say, can we open up the freeway? It's a mess. Let's get a lane or two open. Are we good? Can we move some of the engines out? Or who can we get back in their homes? Let's get some folks back in their homes. So we pushed pretty hard, and I think, as you remember, we had most people back in their homes by 10 o'clock that night. So it's not the biggest fire. We've had a lot of fires over the years. This one, in terms of acreage, is not horribly impressive, but I'm going to tell you, it was such a dynamic fire, and I'm just so proud of our firefighters and LA County Fire Department and our assisting agencies, of which we had numerous agencies. It was a battle. It was a real, they came in. I like it when they come after the fire and tell me the stories about what they saw and what they did, and you can tell by how heightened they are and how excited they are and the dynamics of it. And this was one of those really great stories. This is obviously the aftermath. I took some of these just to give you a glimpse of, what it looks like afterwards. Go through them really quick. I probably skipped a couple. That was the trailer park. I think that was Crescent Valley. It burned right down into there, but there was just absolutely no damage. Some of these are grainy. I couldn't get the resolution high enough. So that's our encouragement and our warning for this year. It's going to be really dynamic. It's going to be very dynamic, so please be prepared. Again, if you have any questions about your home, you can call your local fire station or go by there and ask them to come by. My dad lives in Orange County. I just told him, go down there and have those guys come by your house and look at it, and he did. If you have any questions or concerns, you can field them through me, and I will field them to the firefighters if you're more comfortable doing it that way. And if you have concerns about your neighbors, if you think that your neighbor's house is making your home vulnerable, you can also call and say, no one's going to say it was you that called. You can call the firefighters and say, would you mind looking at the house next door to mine? Their trees are growing over my roof, or, just as a precaution, because obviously everybody needs to do the brush clearance to make it safe for the neighborhood. So anyway, we appreciate your support. And do I have any questions? Anything I can answer? Any concerns? They do not. That's under investigation. It's a very common area for us to have fires. And it oftentimes what we see there is trucks that spark. It just throws a spark into the brush. Someone throws a cigarette out the window. Things like that. Yeah, that's still under investigation.
Could you comment on the enforcement using drones?
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Oh, gosh. Wow, there's never a dull moment, is there, in our world? The drones are people are trying to get in, obviously, get their drones in to take pictures and be part of the excitement, and we have to land our helicopters when that happens. So the federal government is now undertaking a communications and regulations plan out to the communities to really encourage folks not to use drones. We have to ground our planes when people fly their drones. Can you imagine this fire on a windy day and all that aircraft, 12 aircraft? We have aircraft that are coordinating the aircraft. So of course, that's a lot of air activity. You have to coordinate that. And could you imagine on a windy day, or even on this day, had we had to, well, we did, we had been severely impacted and had to land all that aircraft, it just could have been An absolute magnificent disaster. There were 1,000 homes that were saved, $15 million worth of properties. So in fact, this week, there was an interagency meeting with a lot of the fire agencies and law enforcement agencies that have aircraft like we do, and everybody's getting together to try to battle that. Someone told me today that they had a drone flying outside their home, outside their window, I don't know, living room or bedroom or something. She had to close the curtains. It's just getting crazy. The social media, the drones, it's very challenging modern world, isn't it? Thank you, Bruce, for bringing that up. Yeah.
Hello?
I'm here.
What is the definition of first alarm, second alarm, third alarm? Does
Okay.
it mean the volume of the...
Yeah, the volume of the response, yeah. A first alarm assignment is actually very large. It's 5 engines, it's camp crews, it's battalion chief, it's 3 aircraft, 3 helicopters. When you get up from that, a second alarm, a third alarm, if you hear second alarm, that means, okay, we've got something to deal with here. Often when I communicate out, I'll say, it's a first alarm, we should get it. The people that I communicate with kind of understand that. As I said, the day this fire kicked off, my boss went out at a second alarm. I said, I'm gonna hold tight and see what happens, and 5 minutes later it was a third alarm, and then all bets were off and I needed to go. So the amount of resources, the amount of aircraft, the amount of multi-agency collaboration and participation just keeps increasing.
What would it, like you said, there's so many engines and aircraft for first alarm. What is the second alarm and third alarm?
It just keeps going up from there. It's just strike teams and hunt
No
like this.
exact numbers.
I do. I could, if you'd like the exact numbers, I can forward those. If you have a business card, or Al, you want me to forward it to you, I could give you the whole list. Yeah, it's a massive resource. If you ever are near a first alarm assignment, you'll be very impressed. So to imagine an alarm assignment it's pretty magnificent, and it's a very serious fire.
You spoke of multi-agency responses. Today, CAL FIRE down there, engines are a little different color. Forest Services in town. Please talk about the different types of apparatus people may see.
Well, we're in the Angeles National Forest, so virtually 100% of the time, Forest Service responds with us, we respond with them. The way it works in what we call the SRA, State Area Responsibility of Land, is we have the first couple miles, and they come in to assist. Everybody responds because everybody has what we refer to as values at risk. So you will always see the Forest Service or the state come in and assist us. The green trucks, it's a multi-agency response. If you're out in other areas like Ventura, you'll see us respond with Ventura, or you're out, part of our jurisdiction, our division goes into Chatsworth, so you'll see Ventura and LA County. LA City, very frequently. You go out the 210 into the foothills, you see us respond with LA City responds with us. It's automatic, it happens through the dispatch system. It's not a manual effort, if you will. Buttons get pushed and then everybody gets assigned and everybody goes.
Yeah,
And by the way, I'm sorry, that keeps expanding. So in the big fires like the station fire, you saw fire departments and fire engines from all over the country, not just the state. They send strike teams, as we do, to their big fires. The Orange County fire yesterday, the 241 fire, you know, if you're familiar with the 241 toll road, we sent a strike team out there for them. They got that pretty quick, though. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yes, just before the turn of the century, they had wagons hauled by horses, and they had either a hand pumper or a steam pumper on it. Well, when the motor vehicle came along, we put engines to them. We have our fire engines, we have to do our pumping, etc. To compare that with the Wright brothers, who built an airplane that would fly maybe 40 feet or 50 feet, the airplane has evolved into us going to the moon, Mars, and now Pluto.
Yeah.
But we haven't done that with the fire system.
Mm-hmm.
We still have the horse-drawn wagon with an engine on it. And when you're showing me 40 and 60 feet flames in the air.
Oh, those were 100
Terrain
plus.
that you can't drive in, you can't walk in. You have to use some advance in firefighting to put that out. And we do have some of it, but we're not using it. And that is our airborne forces. They use them very, very reluctantly. And when you use, the sky crane is probably the only chopper that can really, it carries enough water, it can do some damage. The others are like a teaspoon or a teacup. And it looks good, but it isn't getting the job done because too many houses are burning. And if we would take the queen of them all, the king of all of them, the C-130, which has got an 8-blade turboprop, 4 of them on it, built all weather for the military. It's a 50-year-old plane, not that it's going to wear out and break and fall out of the sky, because they're producing them in Palmdale continually, year after year. You see them testing in Antelope Valley. Those aircraft, which I understand are with the National Guard and military, and there's some problems, some political problems, or I don't know, like chain of command problems, something, they can't put those in the air. Now, we were able to send them to Israel, put Israel's fires out, but we can't use them much for our own fires. If we get the heavy airborne on these fires in the first 2 hours, we won't lose any houses. But we're hearing losing 80 houses, using so many houses, and that's ridiculous. And then we hear, oh, $5 million to put these in the air. But the fire cost 50 or 60 million for damage, and we haven't gotten to the mudslides and all that damage and the global warming gases and losing all that oxygen producing growth, et cetera. So what I'm wondering, not down at your level or level here even in the state, what do we have to do to get this business where we're locked in limbo in advancing our firefighting? I hear that we can't drop water most of the time. We got to drop retardant, and it's dropped in front of the fire. It isn't even dropped on the fire. And if they dropped on the fire, they might accidentally put it out. But the thing is, they drop it in front of the fire, hope that the ground troops can put it out, but the ground troops can't get near the heat of 40, 60 flames, 60-foot flames. And then when you tell people about clearing around their house a couple 100 feet, these fires go across a double freeway. So the little bit of space of the house isn't going to help when the fire is really coming. So we've got to get to the point where forget the $20, $40, and $60 a drop retardant, fill them with water, put it on the fire, put the fire out, and that's exactly what they did with the Calgro. They got in there with airbornes and put it out because they knew the dangers and some of the terrain. They couldn't walk in there or drive in there. So, and it works.
Well, a couple things. A lot of good questions and comments in there. This fire was a little over 800,000 for LA County. Our portion was 800,000. We did drop water and retardant. I often get the question that you're asking about those aircraft.
Right.
I'm going to give you President Obama's phone number, and you can talk to him about it because that's above my pay grade. But it's a good question. The only thing I can tell you, I don't really know that I have a good answer, is to write your congressman. That's about all I know to tell you. You have to talk to somebody that has a little more knowledge than I do about that. But I do get that question quite frequently.
Okay, well, the Congressman Adam Schiff was aware of the problem and called a congressional investigation held in a federal court in Pasadena 4 years ago. And Caltrans had trouble answering the questions of why they weren't doing it, et cetera. But 4 years have gone by. We still see the houses burning down. And some of the movie stars up in Montana they hired private companies with aircraft to protect their homes. And the firemen said, well, just stay out of our way. And they were going to protect their home because it wasn't being protected otherwise. And there's something bureaucracy-wise that has to be corrected because we have the equipment, plus we develop even better equipment than what we have today to put these fires out, and that's what should be done. And
There's lots of discussion in that regard about advancing, advanced warning systems and advancing the capabilities.
Right.
I wish I had something to offer in that
Well,
regard, but it's a good
It
question.
gets frustrating for us to see the films and see the
Yeah.
fire line, and nobody's on the fire line.
Yeah.
There's
Well, they're on the fire line, believe me. You know, another thing we do that I don't think most people are aware of is we take our Firehawks. We have 3 Firehawks, and we have 3 Bell 410s. So we fill, our Firehawks carry 10, 12, 13 people. We fill the Firehawks with crews, and we land in the middle of those fires. And then our ground crews are working. Don't underestimate the defensible space. These firefighters know how to aggressively get in there and defend homes. It's a huge help to you know, of course, a perfect storm with the winds and dry conditions like we have. Nothing's perfect, but
That's what makes the C-130 it's all weather. It can fly in no visibility, clouds, smoke,
Yeah.
et cetera, and they need to use them, but they aren't allowed to put them up. They can send them to Israel, but they can't use them to fight your
well,
fire.
Adam Schiff is your guy, I think.
Okay.
Thank you, Al.
Well, let's give Stephanie a big hand.